Welcome back for this part 2 of the Real Rescue podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. This episode is going to be sponsored by Bell. From breaking the sound barrier to developing the tilt rotor, they've reimagined the experience of flight for more than 85 years. Check them out today at bellflight.com. And Precision Aviation Group. Their precision is the key to your performance. Check them out today at precisionaviationgroup.com. Now, let's get into the rest of the stories from Kristin Gousse and Jeremy Urekew. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real Rescue Podcast. Man, I love these stories. This is great. I'm going to keep going if that's good with you guys, yeah?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's keep rolling. So another one you guys had, November of 2023, so not that long ago. Again, Facebook, Powell County Search and Rescue. 2 fall victims on 1 call. Powell County Search and Rescue received a call from a hiker that her friend was hiking just past the gazebo at the top of Natural Bridge when the friend slipped on the leaves near the edge of the cliff and fell over. The hiker advised that she had seen her friend hit her head numerous times while tumbling down the cliff until she was out of sight. After the team had been dispatched, the hiker called back and advised while they were looking over, she slipped and also fell down about 30 feet. Oh my gosh. So you guys are called out not for 1, but 2. And this is not the first time I've heard this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw out Dave Callan, who came on, and they had a similar thing down in Vegas where one kid fell off, the other kid's looking, and boop, and he goes too.
Yeah.
Only I hate it when that happens. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the friend made the call saying, "Hey, I watched her go over," and then she's looking and goes over after the call. Oh man. Okay. You guys get called out. Let's go.
Yep. So it's the same area when we talked about my first rescue. So thankfully they allowed us to go on the chairlift up. So because it was 2 fall victims, we knew it was going to be pretty gear intensive. We might have to set up 2 rope systems. I don't know how far apart they are. So brought a lot of gear with us. So that ride up was nice, but we got there and what they did.
Sorry. Quick question. So I know like when the first lady calls and said, "Hey, my friend slipped." Was she on the phone with them when the second victim slipped?
No, I believe she called back.
She called back after she fell?
After she fell. She still had her phone in her pocket. And she
good
got
for her.
Extremely lucky. So she fell about 30 feet onto a ledge that is maybe 3 feet wide. So if there was enough momentum to get her past that, it would have been straight 50 feet down from that point on.
Oh man.
She was very lucky. But yeah, so we get there, and what they did was there was a gazebo when you get up off the chairlift to go see Natural Bridge that kind of blocks off, and people aren't supposed to go past it. So they had gone past it to go to this lookout, and there's no railing, there's no nothing, and it was November, so the foliage had all fallen, and she just slipped and kind of ping-ponged her way down, which ended up saving her, because if it was, every bit of 100 feet from where she landed. So if she had gone straight down, it would have been really bad, but she ping-ponged her way down. We were able to set up a rapid access line. We sent paramedic Nathan Zachary over, and an EMT that is also on search and rescue. So they both went over, started patient care. We tried to send a line down and have the one girl on the edge just kind of clip into something so that she couldn't fall any further. And we went down. They assessed the patient on the ground, put her in a sked, and we set up a system. And again, the haul field was atrocious. Anchors weren't that great. We tried to do a natural high directional, but wasn't great. So we ended up doing a dedicated main, dedicated belay. So we had one at least on the ground in case that natural high directional failed, which we ended up just putting both on the ground by the end. And we got her up, and then we moved the system over about 15, 20 feet, and then recreated it to go down and get the friend, put her in a patient harness and escorted her up the wall. And they somehow, some way, luckily, like, she didn't even get transported to the hospital. She signed out AMA, and they were just shaken up emotionally. Nothing more than bumps and bruises.
Yeah.
In fact, she drove them back home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another crazy lucky call.
Wow. Get to the top of the cliff, shake it off, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Other than being scared, and we couldn't get her to go to the ambulance until we got her friend up. She wouldn't leave. But once she got checked out by the ambulance and said she wanted to leave.
Can't make people go.
So
can't make people go. Unreal. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was
good job.
The National
good job.
Land Bridge is a really big tourist attraction because it is the biggest and probably one of the most impressive arches in the Red River Gorge, and it's also a state park. So access is great. You have a sky lift that can go up on one side. You've got multiple trails that go up to it, and you'll see people damn near in wheelchairs and walkers trying to go up the trail. Everybody wants to go see it, and it's not the off beaten path. There's great parking. There's a gift shop, so it's just a really, really populated area of the gorge, where the people who don't want to go find a trailhead and use a map and hike in to find an arch, you can just go there and it's great. And the pictures are amazing. So we make a ton of calls in that area and also into the trails that lead up and around it, just because it's so highly populated.
Yeah. Well, and because it's so accessible, you have a lot of people who are less experienced hikers trying to go out on these trails. And a lot of our calls there, other than the falls and the sprained ankles, are heat exhaustion or dehydration because they overestimated the hike because it is a trek up.
Yeah,
accessible, but it's not an easy hike by any means.
Wow. For the record, you guys have totally sold me on coming to visit. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place.
I'm gonna check all this out. I want to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
Our backyard, our deck overlooks a cliff line, and we built our house on a cliff line. And it's like we're looking at it right now, and it's just beautiful, man. It's just a beautiful place to live.
We'll give you a rescue tour.
Right. Tease me with a good time. I'm in. Let's go. Right? All right. Yeah. This sounds like a great relationship in the making right here. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is good. All right. Wow, man. You guys got both of them out. No problem. I'm going to touch on this real quick because I know what the next story is coming up. But you guys have not mentioned calling a helicopter to come out. Is there a reason behind that? Is that something that is like last line of defense type thing?
Yeah.
Or is it like,
so for sure.
Okay, go ahead.
We have two hoist capabilities in the state of Kentucky right now. The Kentucky State Police hoist program that I talked to you about earlier. We can also use the Kentucky Air National Guard, the 238th dust-off unit out of Frankfort. And dust-off capabilities are, in the purpose and mission of their scope. They can go in, pick people up off of a mountain, off of a parking lot, even probably off a building. But one of the things that the National Guard does not do is that the helicopters don't do rescue swimming. They don't do aquatic-based rescue because those currencies are miserable to keep up, and the Army's got a bazillion things to do outside of that. Obviously, totally. Right? So our civilian hoist rescue team was created to be able to fill that void, but also say, we can do it all, but when we can't, we want to bring you guys in and tag you as well. So we have done several hoists out of the gorge, one off a natural land bridge and a couple others with the National Guard, because the state police program has one hoist-capable aircraft. It's a 1971 UH-1. It's a Huey. She's awesome. It's a great aircraft, a great airframe, but it's down for maintenance. Whatever. It has a maintenance cycle. It's not always available. Maybe the pilots aren't there, and sometimes different weather and different meteorological conditions dictate how the pilots are going to or not going to fly a mission. So the Kentucky State Police has first right of refusal in hoisting, meaning if you want to hoist somebody, has to go to them to say no first. If they say no first, we can then kick it to the state aviation officer with the Air National Guard, and they can make the determination of, can we scramble pilots? Because their minimum flight takeoff is 2 pilots, crew chief, and medic. They can't take off without that complement. And they have to get those people there. You have to spin that up. That could be a 2-hour process by the time the aircraft is called to the time that they're hovering over top of you, or even longer. In addition, because we have protected lands within the Red River Gorge, the Forest Service can say no helicopters flying over there today, because a Black Hawk, a UH-60 Lima series Black Hawk, really does some damage to the tree, the canopy, because when we're hoisting, and so in the preservation of this geological preservated area, or preservative area, there are times when they can say helicopter's not going to fly this mission. So we have lots of components that come together to say, when would we do that? In addition, helicopters are high risk. It's a 600-pound cable capacity, single cable in the Huey on a single engine aircraft that is 50 years old, that's going to hover over top of you and do this. So if we're going to balance that, it's because we do our resource, we do our risk based on like 3 things. 1, resources available on hand. 2, training, competency and availability of people to do it. And 3, patient need. So you'd have to sell me that patient has a high need, your resources can't meet it, and your training is not there to do that. When you put those 3 things together, we kind of meet a checklist, then we'll call the aircraft at that point. But outside of that, that's an asset that we try to hold in reserve for true emergencies, or we're going to get people hurt,
Right,
to get them down. So the safest way, the less risky way, is to put that single engine aircraft in the air and to make this happen.
I'm gonna argue with you just a little bit. All right, I don't feel that the helicopter is like a super unsafe or like a scary. I get it, 600 pounds for the cable, but I mean, I've been doing it for 20 something years. I think it's good. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I do love the Huey, and I totally understand what you're saying too. So I don't want to take that away from what you're saying. I just, from my experience
Jason,
and what I've done,
I'm with you 1,000%. Flying the aircraft, operating on there. I'm with you, but you also got to remember too, if what you don't want to do is create a program, because this isn't a funded team either, right? The state police basically say, hey, we're just going to hit the bill on this. And as you know, that's a very expensive endeavor. And that aircraft also has primary missions of, drug eradication, insertion for SRT. So if we start saying, hey, let's just not do this rope rescue because we can just hoist this person out of there, you worry about losing the proficiency in those rope skills that the team needs to have. But 2, you overtask a program it's a single aircraft that provides air coverage to the entire state. So we're trying to be, I guess, responsible with those resources.
and you don't want to create a culture too where it's like, yeah, okay, we could do this 4-hour carry out, or we can just hoist them out and everybody goes home and nobody has to sweat. So
yeah,
because we do have a lot of lengthy carry outs, and we don't want that unless the patient can't handle that length of time that it takes to get them out of the trailhead. We don't want to just say, hey, let's just do the easy way out, push the easy button, and create a culture that way.
I
like an easy button. I'm gonna throw that out there.
I'm with you.
I prefer
it. No, they're not. A lot of people in the search community aren't doing this. They just call the sheriff's office. They rally the helicopter. They drop in. They drop out. It's back to lunch, and that's where we need to be. And I hope that we get there through funding and through exploiting the capabilities of what this airframe can do, and also what our team can do. But we're in the infancy. There's we're 120 counties in this state. Maybe 7 or 8 of them probably even know that this capability exists. So I think as our programs start to get more traction, people say, well, gosh, man, these guys are trained and there is risk involved, but they've mitigated that risk through the training and the resource. So now if you identify a patient need, boom, we're there, right? So also our night capabilities are not there yet. We'll be finishing that circulation training this year. So by the end of the year, we'll be hoisting at night. But currently we don't do that. And so that's another limiting factor. And also there's, the pilots that are on the hoist team. If we don't have enough pilots available, 2 are on vacation, 1 guy's out of town, we're not flying without 2 pilots. So there's a lot of limiting factors to it. We just try to use that resource wisely for now. But hopefully we'll get 3 birds in the program, man. And, it'll be awesome, hopefully.
No, I get it. And you actually mentioned in the beginning, so I will caveat on this one, is that if you go out and that you're going to respond, let's use the 2 ladies that fell and you guys were extracting 2 people out, and that you're going to scramble an aircraft and it's going to take 4 hours to get them there, and you could be out in 3. Well, that doesn't make sense. So I'm on board with you. So please know that. I like a helicopter.
I'm with you.
Okay, don't hate me.
There's nothing sexier than doing a helicopter rescue, man. I'm telling you, I'm with you. Like I wish they would just say, "Hey, can you guys hoist every patient?" And we would be like, "Yes, we can." But
no, I get it. Well, this is why I dropped that in, because this rescue that I'm going to talk to you about is this one made not just local news. This ain't like Good Morning America. This blew up. Yeah. And by the way, there was a helicopter involved. I'm just going to throw that out there. Come on, Jeremy. All right, so let me, Go. What?
So you say helicopter, and everybody wants to be a part of that, man. Everybody wants to. It's so cool, and of course the footage and the Huey, like it just sounds so good. It's like Blackhawk. Never heard of it. The Huey just beats the air so nicely. Everybody wants to hear it. Wants to see it.
I love it. We're gonna divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
Well, all right, so I'm going to go, because this was posted on multiple different platforms. So let me start with the Powell County Search and Rescue Facebook page, and that was January 15th of 2024. At 9:28 this morning, Powell County Search and Rescue received a call regarding 4 students from Ashburn College stranded atop Courthouse Rock. The students had been camping overnight and underestimated the weather conditions. After waking up this morning covered in snow, the group determined it was not safe for them to attempt climbing down. So that was the Facebook post. Then the video comes in, and the local news, your local NBC Lex 18 video. Watch the moment rescue crews brought Red River Gorge hikers to safety. And then it goes on and talks about the video. Brand new video footage giving a jaw-dropping perspective in the helicopter rescue in the Red River Gorge on Monday. Video shot by one of the rescuers gives us a look at the conditions the crew faced as they made a landing high atop of the pinnacle. Freaking badass. And then I got to throw it out there. Good Morning America. You guys landed on Good Morning America with a whole video footage from them.
Search and rescue force who saved a group of college students who went climbing and were stuck in freezing temperatures. You have that for us, Ginger?
I do, and I don't know about you all, but my idea of like a college adventure when it was cold and snowy was just like walking to get breadsticks. But these kids are very adventurous and wanted to get out there. The actual air temperature dropped below 0, so wind chills were definitely in the warning for hypothermia range. These students went for an adventure, and they most certainly got one.
What started out as a fun camping trip for 4 college students in Kentucky quickly turned into a fight for their lives. According to authorities, the friends from Asbury University underestimated the weather, and they set out for Courthouse Rock, a popular climbing spot. When they woke up Tuesday, they found freezing temperatures, sheets of ice, and they realized they were stranded, frantically calling for help.
The ambient temperatures outside were about 15 degrees Fahrenheit with wind gusts probably about 20 miles an hour. We'd seen almost about 6 inches of accumulation in the Red River Gorge area. And so that made our trails, the paths, the access roads and the Forest Service roads very difficult to travel upon.
The crew from Powell County Search and Rescue decided a helicopter was the only way to get to them.
When we were coming in on the helicopter and had that bird's eye view of the whole area, it was pretty obvious what kind of predicament they were in. Having to traverse that 20 feet was going to be life-threatening for the rescuers and certainly for those students up on top of the rock. This is certainly the first time we've landed a helicopter on top of a rock feature. Then the question for the helicopter becomes, basically how close can we get? The 2 biggest dangers were probably whiteout conditions, a big snow cloud kicking up and eliminating visibility for the pilots. And then the second issue is actually a concern that the helicopter might slide on the snow.
Challenging aspects of it just being the fact that getting the 4 students down off that rock and then trekking them back the 1.5 miles.
During the 8-hour rescue, the students successfully followed instructions and made it home without serious injuries. The Search and Rescue Force gave credit to the quick-thinking college students for helping ensure a positive outcome.
They called early. They initiated the chain of response early.
They're very, very grateful for the help that they got.
Yeah, everybody's so grateful for our first responders every day. But you know, I do that show, Hearts of Heroes. I've learned so much about our first responders. The hours and really years of training that goes into something like that should also be commended.
Yeah,
Sure should.
yeah. And it was such a challenging rescue.
Right, and they've trained forever to do it. You still come up on challenges, and they made it happen, and everybody's okay.
Wow. So let's bring it back to the beginning. What happened that you guys got called out for this? Because this is awesome.
I was we were at the house. The call came in for 4 people stuck on top of Courthouse Rock. So we respond. It had snowed abnormally that morning, and it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
So road conditions were already terrible. In fact, on the way there to the call, which probably takes me 35 minutes to get to like the trailhead from our house, there was multiple NVAs.
Yeah.
Search and rescue was getting diverted to vehicles flying off of cliff lines, and there was a lot going on.
It was a chaotic morning.
And so because of that, on the way there, I was thinking limited resources, Courthouse Rock, 2,000-foot elevation. It's a good scramble to get to the top of it. It's not a trail. It's a good scramble to get up there. It's doable. Obviously, they got up there. So I made the call early. I think it was a Monday, right?
It was Monday.
But it was a federal holiday, I think.
It was Martin Luther King Day.
So it was a federal holiday. So most people are not at work. So I called the aviation commander for the state police. I'm like, hey, put it out there, the feelers. If we had to do a hoist mission, what's the aircraft capability? He's like, I'm going to get back with you in 20 minutes. So he calls you back and says, we can fly. I'm in Pikeville. I've got to fly helicopter to where that hoist craft is. We'll have to do pre-flight checklists. But as of right now, where the inversion layer is, we're good to fly. By 4 p.m., we will not be. So just let you know, like we have a limited window. It's like, okay. So it's in the back of our brain. So we show up on scene. I'm the first rescuer there with our incident commander, our chief of the team. And I put him, I was like, hey, chief, if we do decide to hoist, I need to know because I got to start spinning these assets up. It takes time to spin the wheel. And if we do it now and get them on standby, then their flight time is drastically decreased. So I talked to the aviation commander and he said, I don't want to fly unless that is the best option. Meaning if you guys can't get to them or medically they need me, we're going to do it. But if not, we're not going to put this bird in the air and go do some sexy hoist mission just because you guys can't get to them. Completely agreed. So I said, let me ground truth this. So a hasty team, myself and maybe two others, we beat feet in the woods. It's probably about a good 1.5 mile hike into the woods, and it's snowy. So it's 6 inches of snow, which isn't terrible. People out west have real snow. You up north have real snow. But 6 inches of snow for us is real snow.
Yeah.
So we have real snow, loss of trail markers. Plus it snows on top of a bunch of leaves. So it just becomes
Slippery.
Everything's slick. So we hike in, we get to the base of Courthouse Rock. We scramble up, 1 pitch, 2 pitch, 3 pitch, 4 pitches, take the Urekew all the way around to the last 60-foot climb up to get to these guys. And now I've got visual verbal contact with them. And I was like, you're going to see, it's just ice. Because it was probably 30 degrees.
Sorry.
It was
colder than that.
It's colder. It was like 0 degrees with the wind chill.
Yeah.
I think ambient temperature was 15. So you're just cold enough to where your nose like stays shut when you breathe. So at this point, like we're not going to have melting ice at any point. The crack that came up was laden with snow and ice. So I made the call back to incident command and I was like, we can get up this rock. If you tell me you need me up there, done. And we were going through our PACE terminology of like our PACE algorithm, like our primary plan, alternate, contingent, emergent plan. But the guys are stable for now. As much as they didn't predict the weather, they were prepared with good gear. They had solid camp. These guys were avid hikers.
They just weren't prepared for the ice.
So I was like, let's mobilize this asset. So we green lighted the asset at that point. And in that time, we, the ground responders, were in verbal contact with them. I was telling them where they needed to be, what we needed to do. They were sending me pictures. I said, give me pictures of what it looks like up there. So I was then sending those pictures to the pilot, who in turn was kind of coming up with, hey, what would our hoist plan be? So the initial plan was the helicopter is going to take off from Frankfurt, go to Mount Sterling, refuel, and then come to me, hoist down to me, pick me up, and then I would go up, do a dynamic move, pick up, do, or whatever the case needed to be. That was plan one, which seemed like it was going to work really, really well. And then in the interim, we were like, well, what happens if the aircraft has a mechanical issue between here and there, or the ceiling drops too low, whatever the case is. So because it was snowing at the time, our active plan was going to be all right, how do we get a rope up to these guys? So we were going to bring a throw bag up, just a shot line it to them, let them pull a rope up, maybe come around a tree and back to us. But again, we have no visual on the anchors. So as far as we know, they could be anchoring to crap, but that was going to be our goal. Like, we'll risk a lot to do that. Or we had some rock climbing gears. Like, we're going to start throwing some number 4 cams in these cracks full of ice, but we're going to start working our way up there, and we also had another team on standby, one of our neighboring teams, who has a bunch of like nationally world acclaimed ice climbers. And even though there wasn't a lot of ice, these guys are solid in cold weather climbing. So we were like, we had multiple plans going. So if this plan didn't fail, we were going to do that. But I'm with you at this point, because everyone's like, this daring rescue. I'm like, it wasn't daring. Helicopters do 2 things really well. They pick up and they land really well. That's what they do. They do that, no problem. So it's like, this wasn't a daring rescue. A helicopter took off, went into forward flight, landed on a rock, took back off, and then landed again. That's what helicopters do. So it wasn't really anything daring about it, but it was sexy. So when the helicopter
it totally was.
So, I'm on comms. I'm on comms and ground direction.
Whiskey 245, see that popping? Pretty good. Whiskey 245, sure pop. We're about 3.5 miles out. We're a couple minutes out. Copy, we've got you on flight radar, and we are in visual contact with the victims.
Throw the strobe on the helmet so they can see where I'm at around the side. The helicopter doesn't fly by, and the pilot's like, you know what? We don't need a hoist. Like, I can land this Huey on top of this rock. I was like, awesome, man. So we aborted the hoist mission, which cut time down drastically from the time the aircraft dipped down onto the rock and took back up with everybody, 3 crew members and the 4 patients, the 4 guys, like 35 seconds. So what would have been multiple hoist evolutions in and out, which would have been great. And I would have loved it. Like, hey, send me the hook, take me up. I would have gone in, grabbed a basket, maybe put 2 in a basket, back up, do 2 basket moves. And then me, we would have been close to bingo fuel at that point. But no, this was easy. So that it ended up being, made national news because it just looks cool. But it ended up being
the weather was the story that week because it was freakishly cold, freak snowstorms everywhere throughout the country. So that's why I think it got the national attention it did. Because it was a cool, sexy rescue that they could lump in with the weather stories.
So our when we scrambled, I was a paramedic. I'm there. I was acting under Red Star with Powell County Search and Rescue because I need to be, again, I need the handcuffs to come off for me to be able to do paramedic care should a team member or someone else do it. So we activated another one of our Red Star paramedics. He met up with the aircraft in Mount Sterling. So when they flew from Frankfurt to Mount Sterling, he boarded that aircraft with his gear. And that way, we had multiple rescue specialists available for if, let's say, the helicopter came to bingo fuel and we had to hang out with these guys for a while. No problem, right? We could have, set up shop, done environmental protection, the whole shebang. So we were quite prepared to nest on that rock for a while if we had to come up with a secondary plan. But that pilot was just, he's gold, man. He's gold. He knows that aircraft well. He knows the terrain well. His co-pilot was gold. So he was pilot in command. I mean, secondary. And he was like, I can put this thing down. The skids were on the rock, but the tail rotor was completely off. And from the videos from below we were taking it, you can see like the tip of the skid is just barely on the rock. So he found just the right enough of space to do that. And just, the rotor clear of the trees just enough to make it work. And it was
perfect.
A quick extract. It was awesome. It was really awesome.
It was badass. I loved seeing it. I was so excited when Kristin, when you got back to me after that happened, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So, dang, man.
But
we caught
a lot of stuff, especially for some other rescue teams. Of course, everyone's a Facebook warrior during rescues. I get it. I do the same thing. I try to nickel and dime what people have done so we can improve what other people did. And, I caught a lot of messages about, because this is a rescue podcast, so we'll talk about it. People are like, hey, man, like that helicopter, completely unnecessary. You guys put everyone's lives in danger. I was getting messages about like, why would you even think that was it? I could have climbed that crack. I'm like, it's a 60 to 80 foot crack that was covered in snow. And people are doing it, have fingers that are at 0 degrees Fahrenheit right now. We're all cold. We all hiked 1.5 miles in. We're all dealing with exposure. And then I got to hike these 4 guys out, which means I have to do multiple rope systems to get them down the scrambles to get them out. And they've been up there all night. So I don't trust their feet. I don't trust their hands. I'm like, looking at the totality of the circumstance, we have an air program for this reason. that the helicopter did what helicopters do well. It flies. And we didn't ask it to do anything outside of its parameters. We didn't ask it to operate in meteorological conditions that weren't sound. And the weather was cold. So helicopters love cold weather, man. They love cold air. Power available, power required is great when you have cold air. So to me, knowing the capabilities of the aircraft and being part of that team, it was a no-brainer for us to do that. Now, if the Captain Austin had said, not flying, not going to happen, we'd have got him down. We'd probably still been there till nightfall, getting him out, hiking these guys out, and then risking exposure for the team, risking exposure for those students. It's a no-brainer to me. So we did catch some flack about it. And I get it. I mean, everyone's really good at Monday morning quarterbacking the next day. So
the poor students got a lot of
those guys.
They were harassed.
Yeah, blasted.
It was.
I'm sorry, I don't
those
mean
guys,
to laugh at that. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous.
Wrong spot at the wrong
Like,
time. Whatever.
I was like, bro, so one, they're students. They're young guys going out and enjoy nature. So let's promote that. Two, they had the smarts to say,
I'm
even
not
though
gonna get hurt.
we climbed up here, climbing down is going to be treacherous. Let's just not do that. And the one thing that people don't do in SAR calls is they don't stand still. When you call us, just stay where you are. Let us come to you. These guys followed everything down to the book. They were super responsible. And I'm very, very confident that if we had gotten a rope up to them and walked through them, they probably could have found some great anchors for us. Like, they were very competent and very willing to aid in self-rescue. Yeah. But, they were following the direction of dispatch and the direction of the SAR team. And that's exactly what people should do in these situations. Yeah. And I can't believe they cut so much hate.
So much.
I mean, other rescue teams are like, these guys should be fined and it's inappropriate. No, man. Like, we want everybody to stand still and let the professionals roll in to help.
We train for these situations. Don't risk getting hurt. And if one of them fell off that, it would have been deadly, fatal for sure.
For sure.
So there's just stay put. And if we get there and realize it's safer than you think, we'll walk you through those steps. But if you don't know, don't make that decision. Yeah. Just stay put.
Man, I am 100% on board with you guys. And all right, so since we're having the conversation, let's have the conversation. I'm on board. All right, so what is the bottom line, right? What is the bottom line? The bottom line is somebody's in distress and we need to get them out of distress. I don't care how you do it. If a rope rescue is the way to do it and get it done, that's what you use. If you can use a helicopter to get it done, that's what you use. If you use a boat, a rib, a kayak, a throw bag, I don't care. The bottom line is get them out of the problem. Yeah.
It's a rescue.
They don't come. Exactly. Yeah. It is a rescue. Go get them.
I think when you have people who are not trained in like just risk assessment, or they don't have proficiency in a wide array of skills, it becomes really difficult at that point of decision. Because like we look at like two types of decisions. You have turn back decisions and you have non-turn back decisions. It means if I make this call, we got to stick with it. Bad shit could happen. But I make a lot of decisions in a rescue where we're going to try this, and it's a turn back decision. If we don't like where it's going, turn the bus around. We'll circle back around for another approach. Sometimes we just have to dedicate, and then we get into that whole like a got to have half-inch rope for technical rescue. I don't even understand what you're talking about. I don't like that. Is like you can't even philosophically come at me with a consistent approach in rescue. The word rescue. If you're telling me every component of your system has to hold 9,000 pounds, because you can't, it's not physically attainable. We train in single rope technique. That's not our go-to. The smartest, best thing to do is a 2-rope redundant system if the time, training, and resources and patient condition dictates it. But last night, and in many rescues, if I have 100 feet of line on me and I need 65 of it to get to the patient and their condition is in peril, I'm going to get on a single rope technique and I'm going to do it. I'm going to risk a lot to save a lot because I have the training, expertise, experience, and the equipment to be able to affect that rescue. So that dogmatic approach of we have to do this every time really doesn't have a great place in the rescue world. I mean,
there is no place.
That is for people who should probably not be tying the knots to begin with. They need a dogmatic structure that they can't deviate from. They need a protocol or a guideline that they can't pass. But
they don't have the critical thinking skills to apply. Here's the tools. Here's what they can do. Make it work for your situation. Yeah. They have to follow an instruction book, and you can't do that in rescue. Every situation is different.
Absolutely. There is not a single rescue that I have personally ever been on that has been the same. Not one. No. Everyone's been different. And everyone you have to figure out, as my brother Matt Thiessen would say, and that would be my Finn brother. He's not literally my brother, but he's my brother, my bro. He says,
Bro.
I quote him all the time now, is we are professional problem solvers. That's what we are.
Yeah.
We have to, you are put into an area. And actually, so let's talk about these kids that are up on the rock. I got no issue with it. 100% zero issue with it. They got up there. They're not comfortable to come down on their own. They're not, it's not in their realm. Okay. Go get them. And we could use a helicopter and have it done in, what'd you say, like a minute? Okay.
Yeah.
There's
No-brainer.
nothing wrong with that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What happened at the end? They were safe.
They
They were back on the ground and everybody was safe. Are you kidding me?
We heard
Like,
the rescuers in the process.
Yeah.
no rescue men were
Okay.
hurt in the process of this video and or rescue. Huh?
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, so, I mean,
gosh.
it's the rescue world is littered with that, and we see it. It's just like a lack of progression into it. But I think it comes from a good place. I just think it comes from a lack of experience and training. Because when your when your tool book is only this big, it's a couple pages, then there's nothing else to go through. But if you've got a glossary of 6,000 pages of have done, should have done, seen it done, been there, man, your recipes for rescue just increase. I'm like, throw a little nutmeg on this one, a little garlic powder on this one. I've done that before, and it's slapped, right?
Yeah.
It slapped, and everybody enjoyed it. So, without that recipe book, you really do have to stick to that. So, when I look at hey, a single engine company operations, 1/2-inch rope steel carabiners, and all we do is roadside, car over the hill, a little bit of belay action to get a litter up. If that's the experience you have and the training you have and the equipment you're working with, then roll with it. I'm good with it. But when other people are capitalizing on decades of experience and thousands of hours of training and the right equipment for the job, let them work to a level that they're able to work at. And if you can't work to that level, that's cool. Stay in your zone, stay safe. I'm good with it. But our training experience, especially in our team, allows our people to do some progressive things. And so it's good.
That is good. One of the other things that I've seen, and again, I love this type of conversation because it's fun for me, is I like to speak just for me because I don't want to throw out they do this or people think that. No. This is me. I'm in the helicopter, right? We get launched out for whatever it is. I want to be the first guy on scene. Don't let somebody else get there before me, right? I want to be first. And then when the rope team gets there and they start up, and they're like, "Hey, we don't need you, helicopter." I'll be like, "Are you sure? I'm here.
I'm already here.
Like I can."
I'm already
here.
And what does the rope guy say? "Nah, we got this. Right? You don't want me to take your rescue. I know that because I don't want you to take my rescue.
Right.
It's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever. Don't be a hater on somebody else doing the rescue. All right, just saying.
Right.
It's like stealing someone's hand line in a fire. It's like
yeah.
But if you sit on the ground, it's going to end up in someone else's hands. So don't be mad when they do.
That's right. Man, I appreciate you guys sharing that story. What an incredible, all the way around rescue and story in general.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids that were up on, sorry, not kids, the students, the college students that were up on that rock. You guys, I'm saying this to you guys specifically, you made a good call. If you're not comfortable getting down there and you called for help came and got you, everybody got home safely.
Man.
That's
They
the
did the
bottom
right
line.
thing.
Those guys are G's, man.
Yeah. Because I know if I'm stuck up there and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. Man, I'm calling somebody too. So
Right.
Well, and
Of course,
especially
Jeremy,
a lot of, just that, a lot of people were saying they were immature for camping in the cold weather. And I was,
What are you talking about?
they were prepared for the cold weather. The terrain just was not, it was colder than we expected it to be.
I've done way dumber things, I can promise you that.
But they had the maturity to realize they couldn't do it themselves. And with college students, like Jeremy said, you make a lot of dumb decisions and they didn't. So they should be commended on that.
The guys had better cold weather gear than I've ever seen anybody.
Yeah.
Like, man, you guys are solid, man. They were ready. They just weren't ready for a down climb in snow and ice. Okay, that's fair.
yeah, totally. I mean, Jeremy, I'm already looking at you and I are going to go get into trouble somewhere and Kristen's going to have to come get us. I'm just saying.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's
Story of my
go.
life.
We call that Tuesday around here. So
They call me Mama
perfect.
Goose.
All right. So I show up on Sunday and then she comes and gets us by Tuesday. Got it.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. I love it. All right. Well, again, you guys, thank you so much for sharing that story. Incredible job to everybody that was involved. I mean, 4 lives saved. And everybody walked home and was okay. So that's the goal. So mad props. Good job. Good job.
Thanks, Marty.
Absolutely. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
All right, so I want to talk one more, which is kind of unexpected because this happened like literally
Saturday night.
Yeah.
last night. Last Saturday.
Saturday night, yeah.
We didn't get a lot
Saturday
of sleep in
night.
between.
Yeah.
So from this recording, like what, 3 days ago? That's
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Oh my gosh. All right, what happened?
Yeah.
No, wait a minute, real quick. There's no Facebook post yet. There's no news article.
Nope.
There's no nothing.
Nope.
So this just
Nope.
happened, and what happened?
Yeah,
We're the first to hear about this. I'm so excited.
a couple impromptu news articles came like an evening of,
And
but
local.
not descriptive, and not a lot of pictures have been released yet of it. But we were I was actually working at the EMS station, so under the guise of operating as a paramedic, a call came into Hollerwood Off-Road Park for a ATV that had gone off the road, and a lady was trapped, needed to be extricated, and her companion had been ejected, and she didn't know where he was, and she had no idea where she was. She just knew they were down a cliff. So they spun up everything, search and rescue. We got Red Star going. We had the Middle Fork Fire Department going. We get everybody there because Hollerwood is huge.
Massive.
And it's nighttime. It's like 8:30 at night. And it's it had been raining last couple of days, so it's muddy, of course, like it always is. And so we get there and we find the party, that reporting party that they had been with, and they were in a long line of UTVs, and they're like, yeah, we remember those 2 people. You're telling us they're missing? Like, yeah, she's on the phone with 911 right now, and she's like hanging upside down in the UTV. And they're like, we just saw that girl like 25 minutes ago. So they were the last vehicle in a train of a bunch of vehicles that were leaving the parking lot, and they took a wrong turn, too high rate of speed, and right over a cliff. So we enter into the park in UTVs that, graciously, all these people there were like willing to help
Yeah.
because
Just hop in, we'll take you.
we don't have trailers of souped up UTVs sitting around unless you want to sponsor us. One that'd be great. So they took us around the park, and we were just basically backtracking the routes that we knew they were at. But these UTVs are super loud. I mean, they're just, and the windshields are all covered in mud, so it's just hard to see. So we were just running through every trail we could go. We'd split all the resources up, and a bystander was walking down one of these trails, and he heard her crying out and was like, hey, she's down there. So he was able to beat feet back to the parking lot, notify the commanders that were there. They started pulling, hey guys, resources, come to trail 1 about this approximate location. Let's all fix in this point. So we get there, they start funneling people in the best that we can. We show up, and sure enough, she's down there, and she is obviously emotionally distraught. You can hear her; she's in pain, she's in distress, and so we get we have to get down to her, and it's the same type of setup: rhododendron, offsets, multi pitches, leaves everywhere, just a slick mess. So waiting for the rope systems to get there, I jump in on a kit that we built for our company, Red River Rescue. I just call it my quick action kit, which is just like havoc line, a crab, a crick, roll clip tip block, change of direction, small plate, maybe a 1 meter, like 1 meter Technor sling. And we put it in like a little Courant faster bag. So you can put it on your waist, hip, sling it, whatever. But it solves about like 80% of most problems, right? So,
Probably
and it's
more.
using havoc line. It's like Technor and Negra blend. So it's uber resistant to like edges and just heat and everything. So I, get an anchor up on a tree. I'm with my EMT partner. He's got, and another Red Star paramedic who's there, and multiple other paramedics. I'm like, we got to start getting down. I'm going to wrap down first. Anybody else is welcome to join me, but we got to get down there, at least figure out what the situation is. So I zipped through the rhododendron. I took the wrong path. It turns out there was an easier way down that luckily the topside team found. But I took the hard way, of course. I beat through all this brush and rhodo, and I'm just like whipping in my face. About 80 feet down the roadway, I get down to her. And her companion is deceased at this point, was probably deceased at point of impact. He had been ejected from the vehicle. She was upside down in the vehicle, but managed to extricate herself out prior to me getting there. So now we've got, a person in cardiac arrest, traumatic cardiac arrest, 80 feet down a cliff on a 45-degree plane up against a tree is the only thing keeping this UTV from going further down. And so now we need people. We need resources. And we've got some pretty aggressive protocols that allow us to do a lot of work, like finger teas for people in cardiac arrest, traumatic cardiac arrest. And we have all the drugs, all the stuff, TXA, you name it. We can do everything that we need to do to facilitate the treatment of these types of people. But we need the resources and stuff down there. So because I was trailblazing, I only came down with a cardiac monitor on my back. That was the only thing I could take. And I was waiting for the other team members to bring down the trauma bag, the ALS bag, all that stuff. So, they had to find a different spot to come down, set up a rope set, come down. So in that process, I end up I declared that guy deceased so we could focus. And we're mass casualty at this point. We've got 2 critical patients. I'm going to focus my care on one person. So we focused all the care to the survivor at that point, and we needed to exfil her and get her out. So based on the terrain, rigid litter, no bueno. The rigid litter we have, which is nice, to cascade titanium break apart litter, but it's set up for the handles, and the handles are on the outside of the frame, and those frame rods that come out hang on everything, and it doesn't drag well. So we opted for SCED, which is versatile. It's the Swiss Army knife of litters, semi-rigid, so it's not great for patient care. It doesn't facilitate good patient care, but it holds people in nicely when done correctly. And we had to do lots of low to steep to high to low to steep to high to low to steep to high angles to get her out. So we have multiple pitches of ascent to get out. So we rigged her in this. Of course, kind of like with the other guy that fell in Hollerwood, we had to do a static system to keep the litter in place so that we could get her into it, because we're on a 45-degree incline. And so we get her in, 3 of us pin her in, load her, stabilize her, give the necessary narcotics for movement, because she was in lots of pain, neck pain, back pain, leg pain, all the pains, rightfully so. She took an 80-foot nosedive in a ATV with no airbags. So,
yeah.
And then she was starting to have some like pre-syncable, symptoms. So now we're getting a little bit concerned that maybe the movement and her, cortisol levels coming down, maybe a lack of adrenaline was going to put her into maybe a hyperfixed state where she may have had some internal hypovolemic shock. So now we're worried about access issues, TXA, but really the plan is get her off the X. We're not going to do good patient care down here. It's nighttime. We're on a slick hill. We need to get her up and then exfil her out to the parking lot where we had an air ambulance that was en route at a staging area. And we had all the paramedics in the world. Oh. So we just need to get her off the X. So our topside team works a system, gets us ropes as far as they can, but they can only come down so far because they're hung up on foliage. So I make an ascend up, meet them midway, grab the ropes, and I stay at the nastiest pitch to be, I wanted to be a natural high directional. So I basically just pull into me, rope through me. That way we can at least get her lifted up off the rock a little bit. And then we began the haul. We got her up, traversed the edge. It wasn't pretty, but it got done. The haul team was just solid. They were on command with like hollering a command. They were on it. They had short throws because our system was spanned over a roadway. So
and a UTV roadway.
Yeah, so 6 foot throws max. And we had 80 feet of climb to do. So it was just orchestrated really well. And we actually were manpower limited at the incident, especially with her exfil. So we were utilizing bystanders on the haul team. People who'd been out there driving around in their UTVs all night were like, hey.
We were blocking the exit. So you had this stack of UTVs waiting for us to leave so that they could go to the parking lot. So they all just hopped out and got on the haul line.
So it ended up being a really, really good effort to get her out. And then, obviously we get her out, get to the top. The paramedics that were all down below, we just did a verbal transfer of command to the paramedics that were receiving up top. And then now they need a non-standard CASEVAC platform to get her out to the parking lot. And then from there, an ambulance to the closest LZ where they're going to meet the HEMS for transport. So just like multifaceted patient care that she touched hand with probably 6-7 paramedics and EMTs on the way out. So I didn't accompany her obviously for the rest of the exfil, but it was pretty neat that to see like, all these parts come together right now. We're moving her in the back of someone's off-road vehicle in a sked, which had to be secured to a parking lot, transferred to an ambulance, transferred 3 miles down the road to the closest LZ to get her flown to a trauma center. And then obviously After that point, we have a coroner involved, the state police investigation, but then we've got to exfil the deceased out, and so that in itself is complicated. And so from there, we used a similar system, did kind of a similar thing, but it took 4 of us down below to facilitate that packaging, that movement, to get everybody up and out, and then transfer out to the parking lot for where they're going to go from there. So yeah, it was a lot.
Wow.
But I mean, it just goes to show you that like one single call like that, where it's, we took the wrong turn, can turn into 6 or 7 agencies partnering throughout. We didn't clear that call to 1:45 in the morning. It just on a dime.
And we got called out at 8:42. So from 8:42 to 1:47.
And even though the Red River Gorge is kind of like our primary, tote of responsibility, like, hey, that's why we're here. A lot of our calls are just because it's not the gorge, the terrain is similar anywhere near and around us. So we make very similar calls because the terrain is very similar in other areas. And Hollerwood's a nationally acclaimed off-road park. If you are doing off-road stuff, that's the place to be. And it just attracts a lot of people. And hey, these things happen, accidents happen. So we're glad that we were able to be there and affect the best outcome possible. But we were talking about it, like, what would we have had to do if there had been an auto entrapment 80 feet down the cliff? Because the UTV was pinned into a tree. But she was able to get up, thankfully. Let's say she wasn't. Let's say this patient had been unconscious, unresponsive, or just pinned a little bit. Now to get up to her, we would have had to do a canopy anchor or a union tree anchor above the tree it was pinned into, wrap down into her with auto X tools, with an extrication platform, then onto the 45 degree, then the high angle, sloping middle. It would have just been a huge complicating rescue. But one thing saved us from not doing that. That's just the way the vehicle landed. That's just happenstance. That's chance. So now you think, man, these rescues can get so busy so quick. And that's why it's important to be so dialed into every facet of it, or at least, I guess, as much as you can.
I'm sending you pictures of it now so you can kind of get a feel.
Oh, I'm so excited. They will be up on the screen as I speak right now. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dang. 2 nights ago. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? You never know what we're going to get called to. Yeah.
Sure.
We're not even busy season. We're not even in prime time yet.
Right.
When does prime time start for you? I imagine summertime. It's like spring when the weather starts to get a little nicer. The trails open up a little bit more.
Middle of spring, it starts to get nuts, and then stays that way up until probably beginning of November. And the winter backs off a lot, which is a nice break. We need it.
You guys have a lot of stuff to do out there. I am so happy I got an opportunity to talk to you about all of this. This has been amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, heck yeah. Actually, I actually forgot to mention this. I want to tell you now, or I want to say it now, is that, so Jeremy, you've actually been, like, you were a SAR, emergency response. Nope, sorry. The ITRS. What does that stand for? The International
Technical Rescue Symposium.
So you spoke at that symposium. They asked you to come speak at that. That's incredible.
Well, I mean, they ask for anybody in the technical rescue community to come in and like.
Oh, so you're no big deal. Oh, they ask anybody. Oh, okay, whatever.
No, he was asked back for a main presentation too.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
there it is. Thank you, Kristin.
It's great. It's a great symposium. It's probably one of the maybe not better known ones, but it's just a wonderful,
really
commingling of a bunch of rescue people who are all just nerdy like us. They're into it. They want it. They want to do it. But I'm passionate about a couple of topics because I'm a hazmat nerd, but also a technical rescue nerd, but also a paramedic nerd. So I want to like bridge super nerd, bring those together. So I did a 2 days of presentation. One day I did, which is like the mantra that we kind of use with our training company here. And that is every rescue is an EMS call with complicating factors. And I truly believe that, like, in the technical rescue world, especially late in the fire department, we train with dummies, we train with mannequins, we train to remove from the problem, and then the problem stops to exist. But we don't do high fidelity training with these medically complex or fragile patients. So, I did like an hour long thing on, I believe every technical rescue call is an EMS call. Fight me on it, right? And no matter how you bring it down, you can't convince me that that's not a patient. And they may not need to go to the hospital, but they may need emotional support, psychiatric support. If they could get out of the problem themselves, then they wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be something that you need. So I think if you take that approach where we treat everybody like they're a patient and we provide them the support that's needed, then that that drives, I say resource training and patient need, that drives our risk analysis a little bit differently. Because if it's just, hey, I'm SAR, and all I do is carry people out in litters and we do rope work, well, that changes how you do the rope work based on what the patient needs. And if they're not a patient, we're not going to do anything for them. You're missing the critical part. So really passionate about that. So I've been going on speaking tours to try to like push people into that. And I was met with probably 30% of the people in the audience did not want to hear that because they're like a hashtag defund EMS. Most people don't want to do anything with EMS. But like at the end of the day, we're here for people, and people that's EMS is people. So, and the other topic that I presented was one on like technical rescue decon. So just really understanding that every technical rescue could have a contaminating side of it. And so you should have a plan. And we broke down like that plan could be as large and crazy as the biggest hazmat incident you've seen, but it could also be just having a small pre-filled kit with baby wipes and microfiber towels, because you don't know what the contaminant's going to be. Blood, auto extrication, brake fluid on your arm, flood water, dealing with dioxins, butadienes, arsenics, giardia, all these things that you don't want to have on you that's on your garment, your wetsuit, your dry suit, your PFD, your boat. If you don't have a plan to get rid of that and render that gear clean, then you're carrying that stuff with you. And now we're looking at in the fire service, it turns out everything that we deal with causes cancer up to and including our fire gear. And in 20 years from now, everything we do will be different. In the tech rescue world, I'm hoping 20 years from now, we say we are in a chemical laden world that we operate in, and we need to treat it as such. So I'm not saying, hey, we don't go in because it's a hazmat. I'm saying do the rescue, but also be prepared for self-decon. And so that was one of the things that I did at HIKERS. I think it was received pretty well, actually.
That's fantastic, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'd be excited to even talk to you more about it. That's great.
Oh, man.
But I got to touch on something else too. I'll listen. I'm in. Let's make it happen. So the other one is you guys have done international competitions on rope rescue.
This is just a flavor of what Kristin Gousse and Jeremy Urekew will do at this year's ResQ Great Day competition in Seville, Spain this week. This is a picture of last year's competition they took part in different scenarios. There are even mock victims or casualties.
We're very happy to be representing Kentucky here.
The team is rounded out with members of Red River ResQ, Powell County Search and Rescue, and Lexington's Fire Rescue Company. Urekew says to help develop and improve their skills, they take part in competitions like this around the world to learn new rescue techniques and keep their skills sharp. Everyone except Gousse is a fireman. She plays a casualty.
We don't really know what the scenarios will be this year, but you could probably expect there to be some rope access scenarios. So kind of like working at height, some skills that require a little more than just the average knot tying. Everything is very patient-centric or casualty-centric. So we always have to insert 2 rescuers to whatever location Kristin has gotten herself into. And then we could be doing anything from high tension horizontal movements to rappelling down into a cave a couple 100 feet to bring her back out.
At the end of the competition, teams are ranked from number 1 all the way down to number 32. The winner gets bragging rights. This is also a learning experience for them.
And it's neat to see some of the emerging trends and just different ways of tackling the same exact scenario. You'll have 5 or 6 teams right next to each other, all doing the same scenario, and everybody's picked their own little flavor to kind of make it happen. And so you learn so much from that.
What they learn in Spain, they can bring back home to Kentucky and teach the concepts and techniques and put to use in places like Red River Gorge. They feel like what they learn will save lives. They tell me the practice they get here is invaluable.
To be able to develop that skill under that kind of pressure is, I think, a really big thing we get out of this.
As this team represents us on the other side of the pond in Europe, I'm David Williams, Spectrum News.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we started by going to Grip Day in 2021, which is in Namur, Belgium. And then we loved it so much that we were the 3rd United States team to ever participate in it. And we're not the best. We may not even be that great, but we do love to go. And it's a ton of fun. And seeing how the rest of the world does technical rescue just opens up your boxes so much. And you're like, wow, we really are 40 years ago, And so not saying everything is correct over there. I mean, there's a lot of things you're like, yeah, that's not an anchor, dude, But just being able to blend those 2 worlds together is cool. And then we did ResQ Great, which is in
Spain, Sevilla, Spain. And we were actually the first American team to ever compete in that one.
Yep.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Then now there's been 2 American teams. We have some other friends in Texas.
Yeah.
They're called Chisholm Trail Rescue. They're a bunch of
awesome.
nerds too. They're great guys. They're going back next month with us to Spain again.
Mm-hmm.
And they just went to
Brazil.
Yep.
For Grip Brazil.
Yeah. So the competitions are a ton of fun. It's just a great time to get with like-minded people and just get kicked in the face for 3 days of rope scenarios. And, you know, there's a lot of teams internationally.
Some literally getting kicked in the face.
Some literally kicked in the face. People can take it really seriously because it's a competition. But like we just go in fact, all of our team is sitting outside right now. We're getting ready to have a team practice right now. But it's just fun to get out, man, and put yourself into these super stressful situations and figure out what's the outcome based on the parameters. So it's like the closest high fidelity simulation you can get to Miss McGillicuddy being in a time sensitive need without having to put her in that one, because you're like, the time sensitive need is the competition. You've got 20 minutes to do this or you're done. Right. So we like it for that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, good for you guys. All right. I know you got a training coming up, so I'm going to ask one more question. Kristin, let me start with you. Advice you would pass on. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and you have a ton of experience, a ton of rescues out there. It's incredible what you guys are doing. What would you pass on to everybody right now?
So anybody in the rescue world, these are skills that if you don't use it, you lose it. And we're lucky to be in an environment that we get to use it a lot on actual calls and we get that experience. But if you don't maintain those proficiencies and you don't train every day or every chance you get, you will lose those skills. And when it comes time to you getting that call, you're not going to have the competency or the level of competency you thought you had. So just maintain those skills as much as you can, because you'll be surprised at how quickly you can lose some of those. So the critical thinking aspect of it, even just, what do I need to do here? What anchor can I anchor to? Just if you're not doing it all the time, you've really got to train for it. So
good advice. I like it. Jeremy, what do you got?
I'd say there's a big difference between being certified and being credentialed to do something. And a lot of people out there carry a certification. They're like, hey, I got my rope tech, I got my trench, but that doesn't mean you're credentialed or qualified to do it. So I'd caution people, if you're touting let's say I'm with blank fire department, blank rescue team, if that's what makes you the rescuer, you're wrong. You can't ride someone else's coattails. So take personal accountability of your skill set. And if you personally aren't qualified to do the skill, fix yourself or get out. Because if you find yourself having to introduce yourself as, hey, I'm FDNY Rescue 2 or Rescue 1, if that's what makes you a great rescuer, you're wrong. Even PJs have turds in the unit, right? So not everybody is great at what they do, and the turds can hide everywhere in technical rescue. So take personal accountability. Remember, there's a difference between being certified to do something and credentialed and qualified to do it, and be on the latter side of that conversation.
Definitely. Kristin, Jeremy, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for all your time. I love what you guys are doing out there, and you have definitely convinced me I got to come down and check out the area. And seeing you're going to give me a full tour, how can I say no? I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, you could use me as a victim. Maybe I'll rappel down something. I don't know. Let's make a scenario. Let's have some fun. Oh, I have a great idea. Let's put my wife in there so she can be the victim.
Done.
Is that a good idea? Oh, done. Yes. I'm so excited already. And then after we'll go out and drink beer. I'm in. Are you in?
Beautiful.
In.
Beautiful.
Wait, Kentucky. Wait a minute. No. We got to do Kentucky bourbon.
Bourbon. Yeah.
Bourbon. Yeah. Bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Man, you had me at bourbon. You guys, again, thank you so much. I will be in touch. This has been an absolute pleasure for me. So I will see you guys soon. All right.
Hey, Jason.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at The Real Rescue. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, Those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real Rescue Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
I want to add a few of my own thoughts to the end of this episode. For all of the search and rescue professionals, when that SAR alarm goes off, that is our moment to shine. We have spent countless hours training and preparing for that very moment. You have to remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They're counting on us to be the ones to come to their rescue. And let me tell you, if you're like me, I want to be that person. I want to be the one who makes the difference, who brings them to safety. And I will do everything in my power to make that happen. If you compare it to game day in sports, all the practice, all the drills, all the preparation that you've done, it all leads to that moment. We're ready, we're focused, and we're determined to succeed. But as much as I want to be the one to make that rescue, we must all commend other rescue teams for their efforts. When they complete a save, it's a victory for all of us. It shows the strength in our community, the dedication of our fellow professionals, and the power of what we do. So the next time you go out on the SAR call, remember you're not just doing a job. We're answering the call. We're bringing hope to those in despair. And we're showing the world what it means to us when we live by the motto, so others may live. You guys stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next episode.